Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to take a look at the DFW commercial office space market with an expert and the person who happens to represent our company when it comes to tenant representation. Her journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So when the pandemic hit, there was all this angst about what would happen to commercial office space. Everybody was working from home. And now, 2+ years later, there's still a tug of war between bosses and employees on whether to go back to the office. To talk about that today, Noreen Mehdi Weathers. She is our tenant rep for Real News PR, and she is with CBRE. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Well, so tell us about your journey. How did this start for you?
So my parents wanted me to be a doctor, and I obviously did not agree with that decision of theirs. They'd already decided it before I was born. And through the process of graduating from college, I decided that I needed to find my own path, look at my own skills, and I actively chose commercial real estate as a career path. And much of it has to do with really engaging in consulting services. So it's more personable, and there's lots of people interaction, and that's kind of what got me started in that field.
And tell us about CBRE, because it's a huge company, isn't it?
It is the world's largest commercial real estate firm. Its global headquarters were announced at the end of 2020 to be relocated from LA to Dallas.
Wow.
So we're based here in Dallas, but we're a global firm.
Tell us about the market right now. What are you seeing on the front line?
It's an interesting market in that with the Fed's interest rate hikes, there's been, currently speaking, some slowing and talk of imminent recession, if not that we're already in a recession. However, being positioned in Dallas, it's a very, very strong market, and we're seeing corporate relocations across both seaboards to Dallas, and these are large companies. Our unemployment numbers are really low, and there's a fight for employees.
And what are you seeing bosses do with office space these days?
So over the last 2 years, people had the benefit of working from home. And actually, prior to the pandemic, there was a trend of hybrid work. And the pandemic really served as a catalyst for something that was already happening because of technology. And so on the other side of vaccinations and solutions around our global health, people are re-entering the workforce, and people like, Jamie Dimon and Elon Musk are kind of beating the drums of mandates for employees to come back. And so there's that on one end, and then there's the fight from the employees when they recognize that they have power because there are so many jobs and then so many employees. They have some leverage to negotiate continuing the hybrid environment. And so, long-winded way of saying, employers are trying to make office spaces more appealing and amenitized to attract workers to their companies, their environments, to create culture that took a hit over the pandemic because everyone was at home. And so there's a flight to quality in the type of office space that employers and companies are signing long-term leases on.
So is your average tenant that you represent coming back to you saying, Noreen, I don't need 10,000 square feet anymore because half of the people are working from home, or what are you seeing?
So it really depends on the organic nature of the company. There's not a one-size-fits-all solution for everyone. But when it does come to attracting talent, the idea of creating space that's more collaborative is the key. And so it's kind of a net neutral situation. Space is being used differently. It's not necessarily cube farms. It's not a series of private offices, but it's more collaborative space, different sized meeting rooms. And then yes, a handful of offices and a handful of cubed areas for certain teams to be located on the floor plate. But it's if there is any reallocation of space, it's just right sizing.
Sure. And like you said, a Dallas recession is different from a recession in Detroit. There's never really a deep recession here, is there?
The environment, the business-friendly climate, our government mandates, and kind of navigating us through the pandemic has been an interesting case study compared to other governments and municipalities. And so we're kind of, if we kind of look back at the different approaches that each government has taken, and whether it's made it easy for companies to do business or not so easy, you can kind of see that in the results of where people are going and living.
And I want to brag on Noreen because she was very gentle. She took us by the hand. We were looking to expand our space, and you navigated that process so seamlessly for us. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Tell us about your philosophy working with tenants. What is your overall philosophy?
Well, I am not an inventory jockey. I really, if commercial real estate was as simple as Zillow, then get after it. I mean, go on LoopNet and figure it out. But it's very nuanced. There's not a template lease document. There's not a template floor plan. There's no template-based prefab off-the-rack solution. And it's all driven by the client and their organization and the people that drive the productivity and profits of the organization. And so it really starts with the client, and every client is unique and different. And so you have to study them and ask them all the questions that are their business drivers and that are important for them, because invariably those answers will drive the real estate solution.
Sure.
And they need to have the flexibility to have the real estate be a support to the business, not a dragnet.
Sure. And I can vouch, Noreen was never trying to push us into a larger space than we needed. You weren't about the commission, you were really about our happiness. And I think the philosophy overall is I want Jeff Crilley's business for the foreseeable future as this company continues to expand. So I applaud you for the way you deal with customers.
Well, and I appreciate that observation, because that's kind of how we started this conversation, which was my parents wanted to jam me into a doctor-physician situation, which I know their intent was, altruistic. They wanted the best for me, but they only saw like one solution. And in that experience, just empathetically, I recognize that there are many solutions. It just depends on the person.
Sure. I was on the CBRE website as I was preparing for this show, and you make it very easy. I just put in Dallas, and as we're looking at that, I mean, those are all those properties that people could choose from. As we're scrolling down, it looks like it runs the gamut from shiny office towers to older buildings. I mean, there's a lot of diverse opportunities in Dallas, isn't there?
Yes, and there's something for everyone, right? Like, I think that, not everyone has to wear a suit. Some people want to wear a jumpsuit.
Right.
It's similar. And then everyone has a different budget, and they have different commutes. Some people work, half their staff is remote, half isn't, so we've got to be located appropriately. And what's tremendous about DFW is that, it is a large, expansive city or cities that can accommodate lots of different people, and we attract a deep bench of skill set and labor, which thereby attracts the employers, and it's just like rising.
I love it. We only have about a minute left. Final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
Well, I really appreciate your time and giving me this platform to share my passion.
Absolutely.
And really, I've enjoyed working with you and your team.
Thank you. Well, you did a beautiful job. We couldn't be more proud of our office space, so thank you, Noreen. You bet. We're going to end with the website, which is cbre.com, and you can obviously navigate to find Noreen off the website. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.